Good morning, everyone. I'm Train Balloon, so welcome to Sunrise Daily.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning and welcome.
Well. So much going on yesterday concerning the kidnapped boys in Katsina. So we will be bringing you some updates as we progress on that matter. But equally important is that of health. I know so many people caught up in different things to the extent that all of that consideration may have been relegated to the background, compartmentalized somewhere in the mindset, just way behind, such that several other things seem to have taken the lead. We're talking about COVID-19, and the PTF on COVID-19 did brief yesterday, raising concerns, well, much as they've done previously. This time they say, look, it's a second wave. If we don't do the right things, adhere to all of those protocols, we're dealing with a lot more severe situation on our hands. And NEC, equally, they caution for what? I hate to say it, impending lockdown. But I don't know how that is going to happen. We know some other countries in different parts of the world, they've gotten into that one. But how we respond to some of those, especially in consideration of the vaccines that are out there. So we don't know when that will get here. Yes, they are making efforts to see which one will best suit us here, given the temperature that exists in this part of the world. So, so many things right there, even though the figures, they predicate some of these things on the figures, the latest figures of COVID-19, and then you just wonder, what would change with people?
Well, I think that's the most critical element, the last word you mentioned, people. And if we factor that in appropriately, there are many angles to look at it.
Yeah.
One is the advisory that government gives through the PTF COVID-19 to do the needful, and what they call the non-pharmaceutical interventions, which are wear your face masks, wash your hands, take precautions personally. So people, we need to do our bit. I don't know how many of you, if as a matter of fact, the initial reaction many people have is, COVID, what is that? If you remember the
But then or now?
Even now.
Or they say,
because,
okay.
Yes, because even the general attitude to it, come on, Chamberlain, check it out. You asked me when I was in Abuja, what the attitude was. I told you. Is it any different in Lagos? Is it any different where you are right now, wherever you find yourself at this moment? So that consideration needs to be given due diligence there. So the needful we need to do, those things are basic, but they are life-saving. The truth of the matter is, because we also do not have the attitude of checking our health system, our body system over time, you don't even know the nature of your body. You don't know whether or not you're vulnerable to anything. I took a trip, just how far back was it? Out of town. And then just in one day, I got this massive mold on my lip, and I'm wondering, what is it? And everyone is telling me I had an allergic reaction. I'd never had an allergic reaction before. So if you look at these figures now, on the one you have on your screen now, and you check the different, tabs on the right of your screen. If you can just go to that website yourself, covid19.ncdc.gov.ng, you'll find this same page, and you'll find all of the things I know. The 1,000 plus yesterday alone. Hitherto, we have had 700 cases, positive cases in one day, like 2 days back to back. That is definitely something that should give us concern. Yes, when we asked Dr. Alero, Roberts about this last week, Friday, she was like, look, maybe it's because we really don't have so many fatalities. Grateful to God for that. But should we take it for granted?
Well, look, I don't think people really want to take that for granted. For those who, I stand corrected anyway. But the thing is this. Look, they just announced the reopening of the borders. And then
forgive me before you go there, Chamberlain. You talked about the release of the boys. Okay, now there are 344 of them, according to the reports, that have been released officially that have been released. Right now, how much social distancing was in the vehicles that moved them? So clearly, we are indicating that these boys need to be checked for COVID-19. What's the percentage of status that each one of them is going to have, positive or negative. That is one, because they're going to go straight to their families.
Because you don't know where they've been.
Considering where they have been. We don't even know the states of health of the people that they went to, that they are, of their captors. So you see that both issues are linked now. Coming to the issue of the border, I really don't know where we need to start.
I was saying that because remember when this started, the argument back here in Africa was that, look, the economy was fragile. And they thought, could the African economy withstand all of those? Well, those are the images you spoke about. But so that argument is still very relevant today, because remember the president did say some time ago that, look, our economy may not withstand, or cannot, as a matter of fact, stand another kind of lockdown, as it were. So much as NEC may be saying what they're saying, even some governors right there don't even believe all of this rhetoric about all of those. So maybe that could be, well, official position notwithstanding. They will go back to their states and perhaps do what they have to do. But it's really going to be tricky, because the key thing, like we said, look, what is going to change with people? Now, look at that. Inflation, 14.8 something percent, double digit. We've been battling that for decades. It's never gone to single digit, which they've been targeting for a long while. And then recession. And so you ask yourself, so what are they going to do? They're going to submit their report to the president, in December. So what would they recommend? What would the president recommend?
The indices were always there. Some of the economists that we've talked about while, you were on that break, indicated that we never really were out of recession, because we were undulating around 2%.
Tiptoeing around it, huh?
Yeah, so we were on the border, if we can say that. We never really, departed from it. So COVID-19 just made us know how fragile we always were. That is where we are at the moment. But then add that to so many other infrastructural deficits and the gaps that we have had over the years. We have a job of work, to use your phrase. We have a job of work on our hands, and I don't know what kind of conversations we are having ourselves. You talked about NEC. Look, we over-centralize issues too much. Let us decentralize the issues. The states have a tremendous amount of work, Chamberlain. The states have a tremendous amount of work to do.
Why am I hearing somebody thinking, is that not akin to the word restructure?
Well, come on, because
just to wind some people up this morning.
As somebody would say, the federal government doesn't have citizens. Yeah. It's the states that do.
But they have money.
Okay, no. The federal government has citizens, the states have indigents. Okay?
What's different?
Boy. It's really, really, really a serious thing here.
Oh, yeah.
We need to find a way to connect the issues to the people. I go back to your word, Chamberlain. The people. It is all about the people. No matter how big the policies, how lofty, how highfalutin they are, we have to break it down to smithereens. The people. It's what it's all about.
And if we have to do that, we need to demonstrate sincerity with respect to the numbers. We need to stop playing politics with numbers. If we have the appropriate numbers and the figures, then we could begin to plan properly. Because you can't politicize those and expect to get the right kind of result. It won't happen.
Absolutely.
And then if you talk about, let's not go over to NIN, the importance of all of those. There's just so much to say. But let's go over and take you through some of the dailies and see what they reflect today. We'll go right ahead. I'll start with Vanguard newspaper today. Well, expectedly, yes, you might guess what they will focus on. The boys, yes, that is the big lead. On the front page of Vanguard today, Katsina abduction. 344 students freed. State government. Boko Haram releases videos claiming to show kidnapped boys. First of the writers. Why we abducted school children, terror gang leaders. We've long feared this. Parents. In other words, they were just trying to say, we suspect, look, in fact, it's just akin to saying some of these things we had probably mentioned before fell on deaf ears. And so, and then you get CNG shelves hashtag bring back our boys street protests. Northwest governor behind banditry. APC. Okay, you need to think back and say, whoa. Northwest governor behind banditry.
Governor or governors?
What I see here is GOV. So there isn't any S. So behind banditry.
You know, this
and
is
that's
not the first time
ascribed to the APC.
You know, this is not the first time we're hearing this. I remember someone also, made reference to such a thing sometime way back. I remember very, very vaguely right now that someone did make that allusion as well. And I think we need to give it due credit. If it is a governor, the person is saying a sitting governor. If it is a former governor, then that reference needs to be made very, very clear. So,
yeah, but this is something very serious.
It's
not something that
serious.
You should take lightly. So, which states are in the northwest now? You're beginning to try to zero this down, and people are thinking fast. Well, okay, okay. I mean, you could look at those states and begin to.
Which of them could be?
Just read the story. That's what they want you to do with these headlines. So you could put it in proper context. Remember, that is always important. And then beyond this one, yes, you see the images there. Just above that lead story, COVID-19, FG, malls, another lockdown. Says Nigeria at risk. FG, PTF, FG. Okay, I know. Most new cases of COVID-19 require oxygen. Lagos Commissioner. As Niger governor shuts schools for 30 days, autumn orders closure of boarding schools in Benue. So that's what you see here. State of the nation. Nigeria needs good leadership to tackle insecurity. Obasanjo. Yeah, he's making reference to some of those things again. And if you've forgotten traffic wardens, I know you don't take them as seriously as you ought to, but IGP promotes 4,134 traffic wardens.
Actually, the truth is they do a lot of work.
And not the due they get.
Yes,
they don't get a lot of credit
they get. You know what they call it? You remember that song by Fela now?
Yeah. Apapa gridlock. Shippers Council opts for demurrage waivers. Of course. That's the only logical thing to do in light of what transpired. I think he even said it when he came in the program, that was going to happen. So if you can, flip to the back page, Vanguard Sports. Shocker! 40 eaglets fail MRI test. Rest my case.
Okay.
40.
Let me just leave it there. The Nigerian Tribune this morning leads with, of course, the same story about the Katsina schoolboys. 344 abducted Katsina schoolboys released. Lead story of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. The story is on page 5. Their release a relief. Buhari commends Zamfara Katsina military collaboration. This is the second time this is happening. You remember Dapchi? 100% they were, shipped back the way they were brought, and the same is happened now. If people begin to connect the dots, what are they going to find? The story is on page 5. Find out the details there. Right under the pictures you see there, as Nigeria records 4,869 COVID-19 cases between December 9 and December 16, states move to contain spread, hurriedly close schools, event centers, gyms. You'll find that story on pages 2 and 3. Lagos and Osun public-private schools closed. Niger civil servants stopped from work. Schools closed. In Benue, Christmas picnics cancelled. National Economic Council, hospitals overwhelmed. More younger people getting infected. PTF, further economy reopening put on hold. And a couple of other things there. Kaduna event centers, nightclubs, gyms, bars shut. And in Plateau, governor tests positive. That's what you have on the front page of the Tribune this morning. Well, I struggle to pick it up, but that's what you have there on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. So definitely something that should give us a lot of concern, because health is wealth. It's a very delicate balance. We have known this for as long as one can remember. It's a very delicate balance between life and livelihood. But then, how are we going to get that fine balance. It's a lot more delicate than it looks. On page 25, you will see this very touching one. I don't know my husband's whereabouts since his arrest 7 years ago. Woman tells panel. This has happened.
Is he still alive anyway?
That question is there, but maybe on the inside pages, you'll be able to find out a lot more stories. That story you talked about, Northwest Governor is mastermind, APC alleges. Page 8 has a story. And we won't react to innuendo from any imposter. That's according to the PDP. The details are on the inside pages.
Suggesting who the so-called APC is an imposter?
Well, we don't know who signed the letter.
Okay, well, they need to read the story anyway. I think that's what they always want us to do.
The Nigerian Tribune.
Yep.
Back page sports. Preserve Maradona's body. Court rules.
Wow.
Okay. What does that mean? The details are on the inside pages along with so many others. This is Iwobi's best moment, Ancelotti, and a number of others there.
Take a look at The Guardian next. Bandits free 340 students abducted in Katsina State. You may notice some discrepancy or irregularity with the whichever way. Some say 340, some are writing 344, the pages of the paper. That's we're reading them out now, but perhaps there's a why to all of that. But the writer here says, Northern groups opt for self-defense. Security operatives restrict Katsina rally, halt Daura march. Insecurity now unbearable, coalition declares. Obasanjo, Otom blame crisis on failed leadership. Yeah, that's it. So while all of that went on, persons with disabilities beat an overzealous security sergeant at arms known as Gumana as he obstructed their peaceful protest at National Assembly in Abuja yesterday. That's the picture you see there, so-called action picture in print those days. So there you go. That's what you see right here. And then why Nigeria, others may wait till 2024 to access COVID-19 vaccine. And then we were talking about the question of, look, what do we do? How do we conduct ourselves? If we're going to wait till 2024, does that mean that we may not be able to manage COVID? As other countries who have these vaccines will be? Who knows? Who knows? Well, that's the Guardian today.
The Daily Trust newspaper is also interested in the Katsina students. Jubilation as 344 Katsina students released. The story continues on page 5. Parents elated, news pleasing. Ascribed to Buhari and Atiku. Why negotiation took long. And APC wants Northwest governor behind banditry unraveled. If you could name a specific Northwest governor, what's there to unravel?
If who should name?
I mean, APC wants Northwest governor behind banditry unraveled. I'm wondering what is there to.
Could it be that he's not a member of their party?
How many states there are not controlled by APC?
Yeah,
Plus,
but
they have a Northwest governors. They have a Northern Governors Forum. So, how many of them are APC? How many of them are PDP?
The question among people's minds will be, okay, they'll be asking you right away, why not name them? But they can't name them yet because, look, it's not that straightforward. There are legal landmines if you were to do that. So that's why it will come out this way. But a lot will now depend on investigative authorities. But they can't arrest if he's a sitting governor. But they can investigate. I mean, as we've heard several times, you can investigate. And then after, if you have your proof, maybe if he steps down, you go ahead. But then you'll be quick to remember. What about the governor that was accused at that time? He's been off several years, for almost forever. What has been done about the quote-unquote investigation about all of this? So, another story.
Too many issues. Too many issues right there that you've just raised. Well, the pictures you see there are of the released students of Government Science Secondary School Kankara being transported to Katsina to meet with the governor yesterday. As you said earlier, we'll
developing stories on that one, really.
Absolutely. So, there's this quote. You know, we talked about, first of all, right under the nameplate, FG confirms second wave of COVID-19. The story is on page 4. But under the pictures you see there, only one isolation center functioning in Lagos. That's on page 54.
Well, clearly we used to have more than one. So does that mean that everybody too is package closing shop, saying, well, we're almost done with COVID. But now you have this. So does that mean that we need to do what we need to do? Reopen them?
We definitely need to do
reopening those isolation centers, right?
Clearly. But then do we need to go as far if, you know, what we have referenced time and again, that the primary healthcare centers needed rejuvenation, revitalization? What have we done over the past how many months, you know, since this whole thing broke? But then it's right there on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
News Direct next. FG confirms release of 333 kidnapped Katsina schoolboys. So remember we did tell you about those undulating figures. Well, The Guardian has 340. News Direct has 333. Daily Trust has 344. Tribune has 344. So there you go. All of them got 3 something. To say the least.
Over 300.
So that's what it is. So at least people go smile now that they've been released. So thankfully, but just getting those figures right is the thing. REA, that's rural electrification, to connect over 1 million households, 90,000 MSME with affordable electricity. This is worth looking deeper into.
What I remember is it talked about 5 million beneficiaries. Are we saying the 5 million beneficiaries are 1 million households?
More questions, I guess. More questions. You're never wrong asking questions. So, after all, what did they say? In the multitude of counsel, there's safety. So, you know, so. Well, there you go. That's News Direct this morning.
The Daily Times newspaper also talking about Buhari welcomes release of kidnapped Katsina pupils. Stories on page 4. Insecurity, national insecurity is failure of leadership, says ex-president Obasanjo, among several other stories you'll find right there on the front page of the Daily Times. The editorial, averting future protests.
Okay, so Daily Independent, what, the last, but not the least, certainly. Second coronavirus wave. We've entered most difficult phase, FG. Agree with states to enforce protocols, considering lockdown as last resort, releases new advisory as cases rise. So, and then they've got their figures as well. That's just beneath that lead story. 333 kidnapped schoolboys freed. Governor Bello Masari, that's ascribed to him right there. So that's what you see now as well. And then, speaking of which, NIN registration may shrink telcos Q1 2021 revenue. NCC grants Globacom, MTN, Airtel, 9 Mobile approval to conduct NIN registration. That was what some people recommended yesterday as well.
Yeah, but how is that going to happen when they're being incentivized? Well, at least that's to be expected, right?
So I guess we'll just wait and see what happens. So there you go. That is it. We'll look at some of the dailies here this morning. But we will be back in a moment. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. Yes, keeping our focus on the development about the kidnapped, well, not released, Katsina school boys. We're crossing over to Katsina State. We've got our correspondent Idris Jibrin joining us live this morning. Good morning, Idris, and thank you for joining us. Now, the information out there is that from what the governor of Katsina State did say, that the boys are in Safe in Zamfara State. They will be moving them to Katsina later today. So what is the latest information you are getting this morning?
Indeed, Chamberlain, like they said, the children have left Safi earlier yesterday, and they are now they arrived in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital. And the information we got earlier this morning is that they have left Gusau this morning to Katsina. So any moment from now, maybe is about 3-hour drive from Zamfara to Katsina. So any moment from now, they will arrive Katsina State from Gusau. They are on the route coming down. They will arrive any moment from now.
Okay, so what any communication from the state government in Katsina State or Zamfara about the action, other than what was said yesterday?
Well, the communication we had from the Katsina State Governor is that arrangement has already been made. As soon as these children arrive in Katsina State, there are a team of doctors already waiting to check their health, and then also arrangement has been made because according to Katsina State Governor, they have spent some days inside bush with one single clothes, and clothes has been provided. As soon as they arrive, they will be given those clothes to wear, and then afterwards their parents will be called upon to come and see them so that they can be reunited with their parents. This is the latest information that the Katsina State Governor Aminu Masari gave earlier yesterday night.
So is there any, because I mean, if they were in Zamfara, still are, that to arrive Katsina from Zamfara, any word from the governor, or is there any indication that Zamfara has spoken to Katsina about how they ended up in Zamfara and what they're doing to ensure such things don't repeat itself?
Well, from what we are hearing, the Zamfara state government, there was a coordination between Katsina state government and Zamfara state government because it is the same bush. The bush is crossing over where they entered with the boys. After they entered the bush, so it's easier for them to trek from Katsina here and enter Zamfara because they are sharing the same border and it's not actually very far. So the Katsina State Governor says there was actually a coordination, communication was established between authorities in Zamfara State and the committee that was set up here in Katsina State, where they discussed extensively and reached out a negotiation between the two state governments and also the bandits, which eventually led to the release of the schoolboys.
Oh, this morning on the dailies, there are different figures that are being bandied as to the number of schoolboys that have been released, and then questions as to the actual number of students that were present there. So is the government sticking with 344? Because one wonders, how come there are different numbers with different dailies?
Actually, Chamberlain, as of yesterday night, the actual figure given by Katsina State Governor Aminu Masari is 343 children. He said all the 343 children are accounted for and they are en route to Katsina State. So I don't think if there are those officially from the governor is 343 children.
The preparation of the state governor in terms of providing clothes for them and checking for their health and all of that. Beside that, what's the mood in the environment, especially about the news? And then what kind of preparation is there in the environment for the protection of the students and everybody around there when the students indeed eventually arrive?
Well, yesterday when we heard that these children will be, once they arrive, they will sleep at, because the expectation was that they will arrive last night. and once they arrive, they will sleep at Hajj camp here in Katsina. So we actually went to Hajj camp. A lot of preparations were taking place. They bought mattresses and clothes and food and water, and kept it there in anticipation of the arrival of the children. And in terms of the general mood of the people here in Katsina State, everybody was actually happy that the children are finally rescued and they are coming home. And I have seen a number of parents already coming into town to be able to see their children once they arrive to the state. Initially, people thought that these children will be taken to Kankara, but later we were made to understand that they will be coming to Katsina State directly from Zamfara State. So all their parents and everybody here in Katsina State, they are preparing, trooping in to see where these children will actually be staged once they arrive. So the general mood is actually something very interesting, and we have also seen the presence of security men everywhere. Even though I know the children are being escorted with a heavy presence of security men to Katsina State here, but we have also seen the presence of security men around the Katsina city since yesterday up to this morning.
Well, one other thing that will give me concern, or give anyone concern at that, is the fact that COVID-19 cases are rising. And just as, has been observed, these children have spent 6 nights, with their abductors. And from the pictures and, videos circulating in public, there is no such thing as social distancing or any face mask on any of these children. So do you have any information about whether or not government is planning some COVID-19 testings for the children on arrival before they go join their parents back?
Well, so far, like I told you, the state governor says a team of doctors are already on standby to check these boys as soon as they arrive Katsina. But we are not informed on whether they will be tested for COVID-19. But I want to believe that since the governor says doctors have already been prepared and they are in place to check the health of these boys as soon as they arrive, I think probably they may be tested for COVID-19. Since the governor announced that doctors have already been in place waiting for the children to arrive, they will not go anywhere and nobody will see them even if they arrive until when they are checked and the government is certain that they are all healthy before anybody could see them and before they will be reunited with their parents.
Okay, Idris, just before we wrap this up, security has been a big issue in Katsina as well as in different parts of the country. Now, with this scenario, what kind of thinking, what are people talking about? Are things being done to improve the security situation around the state? Because people have protested before now.
Well, Chamberlain, like initially people were very angry for the kidnap of these children. You are aware yesterday there was supposed to be a protest by some coalition of northern group, which they intended to do in Daura, the president's hometown. But later they had to do it within a particular hotel in Katsina State, the state capital. And people are generally saying that the government has failed. Government is incapable of securing the lives and property of the people, not only in Katsina, across the country. But after this announcement of the rescue of these schoolboys in Kankara, then I realized that people were very happy. This has given people a kind of reprieve to be very, very happy, because initially they were very angry, especially looking at the fact that they are all children. And then they are not really happy with the general situation in terms of security. But the arrival of the children, the rescue of the children, gave them some reprieve to be very, very happy. But naturally, these are things that are going on around this part of the country, especially in Katsina, Zamfara, and some in Maiduguri and others in some part of northern states. So generally, people will continue to talk about the general security situation in their localities. But as far as the release of these boys is concerned, people are actually very happy that they were released.
Is there any, do you have any information as to the number of names on the school register or the number of people who were actually in the school when this incident occurred?
Well, when this incident occurred, there are about, the school has nearly 800 students, on which some of them ran away. The abductors could not go with everybody. They were lucky to go with about 400, and then some of them run back. I've spoken with some of the boys that were able to escape, and then they managed to go with this 343 as announced by the state governor. So the school is about 800 children. It has about 800 children, so not all of them have gone. And then the school register, they kept register of the school, and all those that were not abducted are accounted for, and they were immediately reunited with their parents. Then those that escaped from the bush, they were also reunited with their parents, like we've been told by some of the members of the school authorities there in Kankara.
All right, Idris, we'll be looking to see, to get word from the governments. Perhaps you could always do that to just get some clarification as to their exact figures, because remember the other time the governor did say they couldn't account for 333, and now he's expecting 344, and then the total number of people in the school at the time. Now, what about the full register? But we'll just hold on for now, but we do thank you for talking to us, correspondent Idris Jibrin, reporting live from Katsina State. All right, let's cross over to Abuja. We've got Mr. Mike Ejiofor, former director with the State Security Service. He joins us live this morning as well. Good morning, Mr. Ejiofor, and thank you for joining us today. Well, as of yesterday, after the call, I'm sure you were thinking about a different thing, but when the news came, mindset definitely will change. So what is your impression now that the news has changed?
Well, it's a thing of joy, and I must congratulate the parents of the boys, congratulate Nigerians and the security agencies who put in serious effort to ensure the early and safe release of these boys who have been traumatized. The fact remains that a lot of questions have been raised. Now, it's obvious that these bandits are very well organized and possibly their leaders known by the state government. Because my initial reaction was that, yes, these people will be released because there is a distinction, there is a line. I'm not ruling out possibility of the existence of Boko Haram in the Northwest, but this definitely is not the work of Boko Haram. It's the bandits in both Katsina and Zamfara State. And you can see that there's a coordination, a link between the various groups operating in Katsina and Zamfara State. If you see, I would say that the state government, both Zamfara and Katsina State, mistakenly laid the foundation for what is going on now. They started negotiation with the bandits who were not even ready to give up on their activities. And this is what we are witnessing now. I tell you, I'm not a pessimist, but this thing will continue to happen unless we strengthen the security of these states and take decisive action. The federal government should take decisive action on these bandits operating in the Northwest. They're very well organized, and I think what they are looking for actually is money. Anytime they do such kidnap, they are paid, they use money to buy more arms. So it's gone beyond negotiation with these bandits, I think we should come up with decisive action. Otherwise, we'll continue to witness this kidnap of school children, traumatizing both the students and the parents, and embarrassing the whole government of Nigeria. This is very sad indeed.
Well, Mr. Jofo, I just did a simple Google search of the word bandit. And it says a robber or outlaw belonging to a gang and typically operating in an isolated or lawless area. This would suggest that the information about this, from what you have also said, the information about these individuals are not unknown. They are gathered and by, ostensibly by the, your former department, and the information is supposed to be used. Now, you also said that the governor shouldn't have been negotiating with the people, but the information about these fellows are not unknown to the intelligence community in Nigeria. This is where we are. How did we get here, and how do we get out of it?
You see, the problem is most times top government functionaries politicize security, and that's very dangerous. You talked about intelligence. I said that the leaders are known. You might advise a state government, for instance, even the federal government, on action to take. But because of some political considerations, which they think might yield result, short-term result, they will decide to overlook the intelligence gathered. And
I'm sorry, Mr. Jofo, my apologies, sure. If you don't mind me butting in for just a moment. My apologies, but what action is the government left to take when the SSS discovers that these are outlaws, they are robbers, just as that, according to the definition? Does the SSS or any security operative need any authority from government to arrest an outlaw?
It's not as simple as you are talking about. You are talking of bandits. You've given me the definition of bandits. And it's not just as simple as you are putting it. I've told you that some political considerations, you might give your own intelligence that this is the way to go. But the government will say, no, we want to do it this way to please some of these people and stabilize the politics, which in turn will also not stabilize, create more problems. So it's not, like you said, it's not as if the leaders of these bandits are not known. But the state government will continue to handle this thing with kid gloves. And that's what I'm saying, that the federal government should step in and do. Look at, I'll give you an instance. What is wrong with, like, the IPOB? IPOB was declared a terrorist organization. Their leaders are known. But here, the leaders are known. They are not appropriately taken care of.
My apologies. So just one moment, Mr. Ejiofor. Just one moment. Just one moment. Just one moment. Yes, just one moment, Mr. Ejiofor. Just one simple question. Are you saying that state governments, where these things happen, are complicit?
That's the point I'm making. They are. If you recall that the military defense headquarters also came out to say that they are not part of the negotiations. And I tell you, there's nobody, best practices all over the world. You don't negotiate with terrorists. But there are back doors which you can handle this situation. It's a situation where the governor of a state will be on parade with terrorists, known terrorists or bandits, and they begin to tell you that we are negotiating with them. Even these very Kankarak students, the governor came out to say that they are negotiating. That is unacceptable. And it gives these people the boldness and courage to continue to perpetrate this action they are carrying on. So they are complicit, and the earlier they handle this, the better for them, and strengthen security in schools. Because is it an offense for children to go to school to learn? But under this condition, people are afraid. They can't go to school. They're sending our children out of these areas. So the state government, especially in the Northwest, should change strategy. Look at what happened in the Southwest, for instance, where Amutekun was established. I expect a joint effort, a coordination between the states, since this in the Northwest, since these people just operate freely in that area. We need to change our strategies, change our method of handling this situation in the Northwest before it degenerates.
Okay, well, let me cross over now because before the release of the boys, there was a planned protest, but that couldn't go on. The coalition of northern groups had planned to take that protest to Daura, where the president is on a private visit, but that couldn't happen. So we've got Jamilu Aliyu. He joins us from Katsina to shed light on what might have transpired. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. So go ahead and tell us, what are your immediate thoughts? And perhaps, if you want to start with, what transpired as to why the protest couldn't happen?
Good morning, Tamrin, and thank you for having me in this program. Well, actually, the coalition of Northern Group is worried about the incessant killings, kidnappings, and what is actually happening not only in Katsina State, but the entire northern Nigeria. And the I don't care attitude shown by the federal authorities, especially federal authorities and state authorities, is worrisome and also portrayed a serious danger, not only to the people living in that area, but the entire nation. So the coalition of Northern Group decided that the de-escalation of these criminal activities or these bandit activities and kidnappers in Katsina State has to be stopped. So it is worrisome to realize that over 600 students were just bandits stormed the school and kidnapped these people, and nobody even attempted to do anything to them. So it is worrisome. So we plan a scheduled protest down to Dora, thinking that if someone can trek from Lagos to Abuja just to celebrate the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari, I don't think we are asking too much for trekking from Katsina to Dora just to ask to secure our lives and our properties. But the tensions on the ground yesterday in the state and the activities that are reportedly to us by the state government that they are negotiating, so they were afraid that if we state the protest, definitely it may not augur well to the negotiation between the bandits and the state government. Because we don't care whether it is kinetic means or non-kinetic means. What we are after is these boys to be out from the hands of that bandits. Because we are seeing, we portray so many serious dangers. These boys can be exposed into drug abuse. Even the weather condition is a cold weather condition here in Katsina State. So how do you think that a boy who is even under 20 years of age can cope up in that bush or in that forest? These boys can be even taught how to handle weapons, which is what portrays a serious danger to the security situation, not only in Katsina State, but in the Republic of Nigeria. So after reasoning and seeing this, in fact, we even initially had an ultimatum with the state government that if these boys are not free within a stipulated period of time, definitely we will come back and we state out not only a protest, but a sit out in Katsina State until these boys are fully rescued. Alhamdulillah, glory be to Allah that these boys today are rescued. But what we are calling is that we seriously appreciate the efforts and the response by the state government, because despite the fact that we don't believe with all the principles or the policies of the state government on this matter, definitely we have to commend His Excellency Aminu Bello Masari for his quick response and intervention in the program. But we are worrisome as well because the inhuman nature and the I don't care attitude also and the lack of humanity shown by Mr. President is worrisome, because we didn't ever expect that Mr. President can even move, even by vehicles down. It's not more than even 100-kilometer journey from where Mr. President is. And this kidnap took a place when the president is even in the state. But he shows no remorse, he shows no concern, he shows no care, as if nobody even is kidnapped in the state, as if we didn't even sacrifice our life to ensure his victory, as if we didn't even contribute to ensure the victory of the APC as a party as well. So he's worried how the president handles this matter of the security situation. He's worried how even the president shows a lackadaisical attitude on the matter. He's worrisome how the president doesn't even care that Nigerians are being kidnapped on daily basis. Nigerians are being killed on daily basis. These people are asking for ransom, and this ransom are paid. What portrays the danger of people receiving money? And these are hard criminals. They move freely in the town. In fact, these people we are talking about, they are even authorities in some local areas in Katsina State. They move in local market freely with impunity, carrying AK-47s launched on their shoulders, and nobody even cares to talk at them. Just if you say we are moving in an anarchy state, nobody cares. So this is worrisome and portrays a serious danger. That's why since June, 16th of June, Coalition of Northern Groups staged a protest in Katana because we realized that what we portrayed at that very time, that we are moving toward in a society, we are moving to a danger that we cannot even pursue. The culmination of the insecurity activities in the state has even portrayed the state into a serious danger, whereby you see so many communities are displaced today with formal and informal IDPs all over the state. So since that very few years ago, when the Coalition of Northern Group realized how this insecurity is moving in the state or in the northern Nigeria at all, we caution with seriousness. We even warn the state government, we warn the federal government that something needs to be urgent to ensure that we curtail the issue. If you realize the trend, if you see the trend of this institution, where this institution, the Government Science Secondary School Kankara is, you definitely assumed in your mind, even if you're not a security expert, you may assume in your mind something of this nature may happen. So the security agent, we expected that the security agent may have at least take a serious measures to ensure that they don't allow this thing to happen in the state. But unfortunately, in that institution, when the incidents happened, there were only 2 policemen. There were only 2 policemen. Look at the terrain of that area. That institution is even in the forest. And there are so many military establishments around the area.
We'll come back to you pardon me, we'll come back to you and let you shed some more light on some of the matters we will raise in just a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. Well, Comrade Aliyu, many can't quite picture the scenario. When you say that some of these people they walk around with the guns on their shoulders around them in different places, what exactly do you mean?
What I mean is that these people are well known. Because if you go to the communities living in that area, they will tell you there are social person and social person belongs to that group. And these people, it even reach an extent whereby the press secretary or the president is even querying that farmers didn't even get clearance from the military before to go to the farm. These people, they have imposed so many taxes to the farmers. If you are farming, you cannot even plant your seed until you pay these people a ransom. You cannot, after you planted the seed and the seed grows, you want to harvest your seed, you cannot even harvest your seed unless you pay the ransom. And the government is fully aware of all this thing that is happening. If you come to Katana, there are so many localities that people will tell you that you cannot move from beyond this area. Let me tell you something. You cannot travel more than 50 kilometers in Katana State without having a fear in your mind. If you take all this road, especially the southern part of the state that links you to Katana State, you cannot travel freely without fear in your mind. For instance, if you take Funtua Bindungwari Road, if you take Funtua Zaria Road, if you take Matazu Musawa Road down to Kapinsoli, if you take Marabak Ankara down to Dusama Road, all these roads are not safety for commuters. So the state is somehow becoming a horror state, or a home of horror, whereby people are no longer.
All right, we'll try and sort that out, but those were really shocking.
Let me take that up with Mr. Jaffor. Mr. Jaffor, you heard some of the things that Comrade Aliyu has said about security in the environment, especially the part where he says that gunmen go to the markets with their guns, AK-47 slung around their shoulders, and government is fully aware. How do you react?
Well, that confirms my earlier assertion that these people are known. But what is the political will to take decision and bring these people to justice? That's and the primary purpose of government is welfare and security of the people. How would people continue to live in fear? You can see the picture Aliyu painted there. It's gory. It's very sad that people cannot even move out in their domain. You cannot go to farm. You cannot travel on the road. You cannot carry out your daily activities. So it's worrisome and very, very disturbing. I completely agree with him. And like I said, we need to change our strategy. We need to change our method, our approaches to these issues. Because if we continue and allow this If we continue to allow this to continue, it's going to be very, very sad. People will even vacate that place. You're talking of IDPs, both emergency IDPs and conventional area. We are still contending with the Northeast Boko Haram. Then we are contending with bandits in the Northwest.
Okay.
So I think we should do, but most importantly, I think I have to bring this in. The issue of these boys, and as soon as they arrive at Katsina, I think it's very, very important that they should be briefed, because a lot of questions will be raised. One, how did they move out? Did the people come with vehicle? How did they transport them up to Zamfara State and undetected on the road? Are all of them safe? Was there any casualty? Was there a lot of questions. So I think they shouldn't be in a hurry to release the kids, as long as their parents have to sit down with the security agencies to debrief them on their experience, so that we know how to handle the other issues. Okay. It's not just a day that they will travel, all right, or they trekked all the way from Katsina to Zamfara undetected. It's sad.
Okay. Well, Mr. Ejiofor, those are very, very concerning issues that you have raised there. But let me, take it back to Comrade Aliyu. Now, Comrade, when you say, that the people have to pay ransom and government is fully aware, question that comes to mind is, when you say government here, which government? Plus, the government going to the markets with their guns, are the security operatives in the environment unaware of these?
If I, as a layman, who doesn't even know what security is all about, how will I be telling you that these people, they are carrying guns and move freely? How will I even know this information without the security agents knows fully about it? It was a few days ago, or a few weeks or months ago, that these people were even somewhere around Jabi, in Fontua local government, in their hundreds, moving with their bike, slugging those AK-47 on their shoulders. And they move freely. And up till today, as I'm talking to you, I didn't have any information that these people were arrested by security men. And if you go to these areas, you will see there are some military formation, or there are some soldiers and other security personnel who were deployed there to tackle the issue. But the question here that we are going to ask ourselves is that, is the armory of Nigerian army bigger than the armory of this bandit? One, do we have all the necessary logistics that Nigerian army and other security personnel at the front line needs? Do we have them with them? If a Senator Ali Ndumi particularly, can come out authoritatively in the Senate chamber and admit that the security personnel at the front line are sharing bullets, this is uncalled for. And this is ungodly, inhuman, and a regrettable situation we are in. And this portrays a serious danger to Nigeria and Nigerians. A serving senator authoritatively saying at the Red Chamber that the security men are sharing bullets at the front line. So, which signifies that automatically I can deduce a conclusion that the armory of this bandit is larger than the armory of Nigerian army, which is uncalled for. So, what we are saying is that no matter how the situation might be, dark as a cloud may appear, depression as the news may be, and hopeless as the situation may be, silence is a luxury we cannot afford. Silence is the luxury we cannot afford. So the silence of so many of our people that they cannot come out and tell the reality to our authorities. When I say authority this time around, I don't even refer to the state authorities, but I'm referring particularly to the federal authorities, because they give the slogan that the state governors are in charge of the security officers in their state. But this one is a mere say, because the state government doesn't control armory, the state government doesn't control armies, it doesn't control police, it doesn't control DSS. All these people are carrying direct order from their bosses, and their bosses are in Abuja. So the reality is that whatever is happening in terms of security, I can tell you, or I can conclusively go on my mind and say that all the problems, 90% of these problems are from the federal government and the federal authorities. Because we voted President Muhammadu Buhari not only to come and be the president of Nigeria, but these are the major challenges that we are facing during President Jonathan's administration, because the issue of this insecurity of that was the only issue that was at that time was the issue of Boko Haram. But today we are having Boko Haram, and these Boko Haram are moving gradually to the fact that there is so many suspicion that there is an established link between the Boko Haram and this bandit in this forest. So this portrays a serious danger that if care is not taken, Boko Haram are now out of northeast and moving down to the northwest. If Boko Haram can move out of the northeast and move down to the northeast, automatically, if you see, it's like the Boko Haram is making an arrowhead formation to the entire northern Nigeria. So the reality is that Mr. President, actually, with all due respect, but he's not doing actually what he's supposed to do as a leader, as a president, and as a father. We are seeing him when we voted Mr. President on this seat. We voted him not only as President Muhammad Buhari or as a leader or as somebody who come and lead the country as the president of the country. We voted him with all sincerity of purpose as the president and as a father to us. But today, Arewa is bleeding. Today, North is bleeding. Nobody is cured in northern Nigeria, writhing in poverty, dwindling economy, and insecurity all over the northern Nigeria. I can authoritatively tell you that we are not living in peace here in Katana State. We are always living in afraid, fear, uncertainty, pervasive fear and uncertainty. We are living in agony. We are living in sorrow. That's the situation we are in here. That's why we, at the coalition of Northern Group, decided that we cannot even join the trend of the people that keep their mouths silent, because in an unjust society, silence also is a crime. And we believe that in every struggle, there must be a sacrifice. We are ever ready to sacrifice whatever is sacrificial, so as to ensure that we emancipate our people from this dwindling situation we are in.
You know,
this is
it's something that really needs to be done about, if not all of these issues that you've raised. But is there any information? Are you aware of what the state government is doing about security, or the police, for instance?
Well, the police at the front line, I can tell you that the security agents at the front line are trying their best, because we don't expect these people that they have any other magic that they can apply if they don't have what they require at the front line. If they don't have even a simple ammunition, if they don't have all the gadgets they need, if they don't have these armor personnel carriers, if they don't have this fighter jet, whether nocturnal or diurnal fighter jet, how are they going to fight these bandits? A policeman or a soldier at the front line is just somebody like me. He's only trained, and his training can only be efficient and usable to the people when he has all the required materials that he can apply and fight these people. But in a situation whereby he doesn't have them, he's in a sorry stage and he's in a hopeless situation, and he cannot even do anything. So why I'm saying that the state governors are not mainly in charge of these issues, because they have their own limitations. But the federal authorities, they are the ones to import all these required armories, the required fighter jets, the required armor personnel carriers, and whatever, and even the allowances of these people at the front line. And what is the end? What is the fate of these people after they sacrifice their life for the sake of we to enjoy what we are doing today? Are they being paid? How are they going to how are their families even going to cap up with their pension? How are their families even going to pension with what with their death gratuity? Are they getting it in time?
Does this mean that even if they release these boys now, this could happen again?
In fact, the certainty that that's why even the governors took the decision, not only Kaduna State government, but Zamfara did the same, Jigawa did the same. They all closed down all the secondary schools in the states, because they see that they portray that this may happen itself again. Just look at our terrain and where these institutions are located. Go to Paskari and see where this government science secondary school Paskari is located. It's just a nearby to this bandit camp. And the same with this Kankara and almost all the other institutions in the state. Only very few institutions are even situated in the town. And tell me, how will you expect that somebody who, these bandits that are moving in hundreds of their numbers and with all their AK-47, and you come to a local government whereby you may hardly even have over 200 policemen in that local government. How do you think that policeman some will even be at their outposts? Some would even be at the station writers, station Y, station and this. How will you think even they can fight them? So the issues that we are shortage in number of the security.
Just one issue to take you up on before we sign up on this conversation. Very, very quickly, if you can. You already referenced it, but I would like you to just explain for us so that we can understand how precarious the situation is. Now, We've talked about students being abducted by these, hoodlums, these bandits, as we call them, and all of that. But please tell me, and you have also referenced that, people don't feel very, very safe, going around because of insecurity and all of that. How frequently do these things happen in Katsina State or any other place around you where you are? How frequently?
I don't think I'm exaggerating anything by telling you that on each and every day people are being kidnapped in Katsina State. I don't think I'm exaggerating anything. If you go to these local areas, they will tell you that on daily basis these things do happen. On daily basis. On daily basis, these things do happen in Katsina State. So what we only thank God now is that these people are no longer moving to the villages and destroy villages, burn villages,
Comrade,
whatever they like. But
Comrade,
if you are talking on kidnapping,
can you hear me, Comrade? Does this happen in Daura as well?
No, we don't have any reported situation frequently in Daura since the abduction of Magajingaran Daura some few months ago. But we don't have such cases. But if you talk about the southern part of the state and the central part of the state, these things do happen on daily basis.
Okay, let's get...
Daura, I doubt any situation like this much.
Okay, Mr. Joffo, well, we just people needed to understand the scenario, what was going on, so we had to just get a little more. I haven't listened and heard some of those things now. Where does this leave us?
Well, it portends real danger. The picture he has painted, and I entirely agree with him that these people are daring. If they can be moving in droves, in motorbikes, unchecked, then we are heading for anarchy. That's what it means. We just can't continue like this. Because the more, there's this Yoruba proverb that a juju that needs blood, even if you give it oil, it will not stop from destroying you. So, government must take decisive action. And I've said this in time without number. People are talking of changing service chiefs. I have said this time and time again. There is need to inject fresh blood by bringing service chief. But if they continue if you bring any new service chief now, and they begin to operate under the same environment, there's not going to be any change. We need to equip our military. Okay, take that school, for instance, where you have only 2 policemen. And you see these people in their numbers coming, what would the policeman will take off? Because he has a family too to protect. And the earlier the government takes decision to change, and the present structure of our security will never check our security challenges. Therefore,
if I could jump in and ask you this,
we need local police.
Now that given the scenario that he's painted as we wind down this one, so why then was it that, because security agencies will all know what is going on, including the intelligence community, the DSS and the likes, why then were they stopping people from, just trying to protest as though they were saboteurs when all these kind of things are going on and they know?
Well, I wouldn't know why they were stopped, but
it's your former outfit, so I just had to put that in.
To stop people from protesting over certain issues that government ought to have taken action that it failed to take action. So you must allow people ventilate their anger in such a situation. See, the issue remains that if you have been involved or you're a victim of kidnap, it's traumatizing. It's very, 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 very bad. And nobody will want to go through that experience. And you're talking of over 300 students taken at a swoop, and you say people should not protest. I don't think it's acceptable to me as a human being, not to talk of being a Nigerian. So the way forward, I continue to say, well, we need to rejig the security architecture by providing for local police or the state police. If I give you an instance, in Kogi, for instance, the state government has involved the use of vigilante, the local police. And it's not that the kidnap in Kogi has stopped, but it has reduced. So we need to adopt local solutions to our local problems. You can't continue to do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. It's only a madman that goes that way. We need, and without security, there is no way there can be any meaningful development. We, in fact, very soon, experience famine in the country because people are not going to the farm. In my own state, Delta State, people are afraid to go to the farm all over the country. So there must be a decisive and action plan adopted by government to see that there is security in this country.
All right, then, Mr. Mike Ejiofor, former director with the SSS, we thank you for your time this morning, as well as Comrade Jamilu Aliyu, Zonal Coordinator, Northern Coalition of Northern Groups. Thank you for talking to us, and we hope that all of these things improve. All right, so, a couple of days ago, that announcement as to the borders, yes, that directive has been given as it concerns the economy. What impact will it have? How are people responding to it? What should we expect moving forward? Those are the issues we're considering right now. Are we going right into it now?
Well, maybe we want to take a quick background on that so that at least people understand exactly what we're talking about.
All right.
Relief and jubilation by residents of Seme border after news of reopening of the border filtered in. Along the Seme border international route, checkpoints are mounted by all security forces at 1 meter distance, engaging motorists. At the border, it's status quo, with restriction on entry of goods and persons still in place. Although government authorities at the border declined speaking to us on camera, commercial activities are gradually picking up as residents say the decision is long overdue.
People in Baragri, people in Seme, they will come back to life. If you were here before the opening of border yesterday, you understand what I'm saying. A whole place is deserted, but you can see with your eyes, you see a lot of people.
The story is similar in Jigawa State, where residents of Maikatari, a border town with Niger Republic, also expressed delight over the news of the reopening.
The economy of these people living here is largely dependent on the border, and we have suffered a lot during the border closure. We were denied buying fuel here. We have to travel out to so many kilometers before we get fuel. So many things that we used to have easy access to, we are now denied. So with this opening, we think that things will open up and look for better.
In Sokoto State, officials at the Ilela border are still awaiting authorization to open it as residents lament the impact of the closure on their businesses.
If indeed it is true that the borders are going to be opened, it is good, as prices of items will come down.
Operators at the Seme end count the losses of the 16-month closure.
So many of our members have died. So are they coming back? And what causes their death? Because then, when you have 2 naira, 3 naira, and you are sick, you'll be able to get drug and take, especially those with high blood pressures. You get drug and take. Now, they fall sick, no work, no nothing.
That they close this border, in fact, the thing was to even my house where my house where I put, I don't sell land because of what I want to eat and my family school fees, all these things. My parents, they need money, everything I sell land. So some of them I don't sell their property because of this border closure.
With the directive from the federal government, residents of the border communities are anticipating that their businesses will start thriving again, with a promise to avoid illegal activities.
Right, so to give us a perspective, an impression, a picture, a scenario, if you will, of what is going on, or what should we expect on this subject matter, we've got Mr. Joe Atta, who is the Public Relations Officer of Nigeria Customs. We also do have Ibukunle Onosanya, who is an agri-economist, as well as Lasisi Fanu, who is the Chairman, Association of Nigeria Licensed Customs Agents at the Seme Border Chapter. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on the program. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Atta. What does this announcement mean in terms of how the customs will carry out their activities moving forward?
Yeah, a very good morning to you. The announcement means that the partial border closure has gradually come to an end, and it also means that some of the concerns that necessitated the closure definitely have been addressed, because as you know, since the closure, there have been diplomatic engagements leading even up to ECOWAS intervention. You recall the meeting at Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso. And then at the customs level, there have been a tripartite meeting of customs administrations of Nigeria, Niger, and Benin. And during this engagement, a lot of commitments were extracted from our neighbors. And also there was agreement as to the establishment of joint border patrol teams at both sides with connectivity in place. That has also been achieved. That has already commenced. Niger, Benin, and Nigeria have joint border at both sides of the border, and then the leaders of these teams share intelligence and share information, and they also exchange prohibition lists. What you don't want to come into your side, let me know so that I ensure that it doesn't come. And what I don't want coming into my own side, I also give it to you so that you ensure that it doesn't come. So going forward, we see improvement in border security. We see that the outcome of this, as part of the achievement of this border closure, we will have a better secured borders.
Okay, Ms. Atta, just give us a moment. We'll be back and get more perspective from you in a moment. Stay with us. Well, Ms. Atta, what specific actions or measures have been put in place to ensure that if there are anyone who or any group, including in your agency, the customs, who take kickback from any agent or any group whatsoever, will be dealt with?
Well, I will start with actions that have been put in place to ensure that some of these things don't even happen before you talk of kickback. Because when you're talking about kickback, I think you are already jumping the gun. We have to look at the fundamentals of the issues surrounding border security. And that is first, that of non-compliance to the ECOWAS protocol on transit. And then two, the porous border, and then the seeming indifference of our neighbors. That has been addressed. Through the diplomatic engagement, there have been commitments that have been extracted from our neighbors, and we hope that they will keep to these commitments. And I told you earlier that as I speak, operationalization of the joint border patrol teams at both sides have commenced. And that is very, very, very important. Because when you're talking about kickback, you are just already assuming that no structures have been put in place to even prevent the happening of things that we...
No, Ms. Atta, so I'm not assuming. I'm asking you what measures have been put in place. So that's why we want you to tell us.
Yeah, you are asking what measures, but you talk about kickback instead of what measures have been put in place to ensure border security.
No, I'm asking about kickback first. No, kickback first before the border. I'll move on to other ones. Don't worry.
Kickback can only happen if somebody commits a crime. Nobody gives you money for nothing. He must have committed a crime. He must have done something wrong. And then you allow yourself to be compromised. We are putting structures to, as much as possible, remove those opportunities that will give rise to you even compromising in the first place. And then the very few that now compromise will be dealt with.
Yeah, but that's why, because you just said now that kickback happens, instructive word happens, when somebody commits a crime. So are you then assuming that, because you put those measures in, you're assuming that kickback will not happen anymore, so no need for further measures on that?
Every well-meaning system tries as much as possible to remove the incentives for crime. That is the most important thing that any well-meaning system should do. Your first attempt is to block revenue leakages, is to block opportunities that criminals or those who do not want to comply will want to use. Those opportunities must be removed. And that is what the diplomatic engagement and the tripartite meetings addressed. And that is very, very crucial to this discussion. We must appreciate those efforts that have been put in place to, as much as possible, remove all, if not near all. If not all, very, very near all. So that, of course, we know we are dealing with human beings. It's human beings that wear this uniform. It's human beings that smuggle. It's human beings that go out and come in. And of course, it's expected in one way or the other that you will find deviance. Now, the structures are there. The laws are there. Those that are now found will be dealt with. But right from the beginning, the effort that was deployed during this intervention, during this engagement, was to make it near impossible for you to find those opportunities. And that's what I think is important to any system that wants to grow.
All right, Mr. Atta, we have two other people to take on this issue, but before we go to that, let me quickly take you up on something that you said. In your comments, you talked about porous borders. Coming from the Public Relations Officer of Nigeria Customs Service, I'm wondering how that is possible. If we have porous borders, what is the plan to make sure that we do not have porous borders anymore as far as the customs is concerned? We know it's a Herculean task, but what has been done and what needs to be done to ensure that we are not back to where we were before we had to close the borders?
Well, from my training of public relations, I don't think it's in the place of a PRO to lie. I admit that, yes, Nigeria have long, winding, largely porous borders. And I say that again. And I think even the government admits to that. And that is why the present government is taking decisive actions to deal with this challenge. You recall that just last month, the federal government approved the e-customs. The e-customs is an end-to-end automation of the customs processes and procedures. And some of the key components of e-customs include installation of non-intrusive equipment like scanners and all that. So going forward, virtually all our entry points, there will be scanners, there will be deployment of robust technology that will help us monitor these porous borders better. One of the achievements of the border closure, the joint border trade that we've had, is that coming together of Nigerian security forces afforded us more manpower, more working tools, more technology, and more intelligence operatives. And some of the gains of the operation was that we were able to reach where Nigerian Customs Service alone could not have reached. We were able to know certain things that probably we could not have known on our own alone. So all those findings, all those intelligence gathered within this over a year of border closure have been documented, and strategies have been put in place to address them. So it's been worked the way.
Does that then mean that since you've put in place all these measures, it sounds as though they are watertight, okay, almost watertight. Anyone, be it FOU or whoever, we see harassing people on the street, on the road, or their cars, will they be on illegal duty since these measures are on the borders?
You see, Mr. Chamberlain, sometimes when we are talking about crime, when we are talking about border security, we focus on the security agencies alone. Of course, it is their statutory functions to ensure that crime do not take place. And when they do take place, they are dealt with. The fact that security agencies even exist in the first place is because there is the knowledge that human beings have the tendency to break the law if they are not caught. So when we are talking about customs, we are talking about immigration, we are talking about police, we should also talk about the role of the citizens. We are aware of citizens who would rather give information against us instead of giving information to us. Those who would accept handsets from smugglers and use it to monitor our movement along the border and give information to these smugglers and tell them which bush path they should follow. And that's where we hope that the deployment of technology will help us be able to see some of these things. So, and then that's where the other joint border patrol of the other side of the border will also come into play. So, hopefully, because I use the word hopefully because we are dealing with human beings here. And let's face it, as you earlier said, who said you cannot even get one or two that are even wearing uniform that may want to compromise? So we are dealing with human beings. But the system, as I said, should be in such a way that remove the incentives to some of these vices. And that is what this engagement, these meetings, this diplomatic engagement have helped to achieve. And going forward, we are very, very hopeful that...
Just hold on a moment, Mr. Atta. Let me get in Mr. Lasisi Fanu, who happens to be the chairman of Association of Nigeria Licensed Custom Agents. He joins us as well. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Well, you heard Mr. Atta a lot. What do you think about... in fact, tell us first, what does this announcement mean to you as in your profession? Mr. Fanu, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so could you go ahead and tell us, I mean, yes, I know you hopefully you heard Mr. Atta there, but tell us first, what does this announcement mean to you? Okay, we lost him there, so we'll get in much later, but we equally do have Mr. Ibukunle Onosanya, who is an agri-economist. Good morning, Mr. Onosanya. Thank you for joining us as well today on the program. Well, the agri sector is supposed to be, I know that it was somewhat mixed, even though largely they said that they had benefited from the border closure, different groups in the sector. But now, with this announcement, what is your thought?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I hope you can hear me. Let me put it straight to you, Chamberlain. No agriculturist who knows the history of the agricultural sector in this country and the negative impacts which the neglect of that sector has suffered in the last half a century would support or applaud the reopening of the land borders. Now, government should not have buckled to the pressure that mounted, regarding the reopening of the borders. Because here is a policy, a very protective policy, which we have been clamoring for decades, to stimulate agricultural production, create jobs along the value chain, encourage new entrants, and the entire diversification of the economy, helping Nigeria to harness and utilize the humongous resources that this nation is blessed with in the area of agriculture, so that we would not only be able to feed our teeming population, but also be able to export. So I do not support the reopening of the borders. I've been on this program before, and I said the same thing. Now, it's not as if one is clamoring for an endless, closure of the borders like China or some other country. But, haven't gotten it right for once, we needed some more time. Farmers needed some more time to get their acts together and continue to work hard towards achieving these very laudable objectives of increased production, in this country. So my opening remark would be a total disappointment of the fact that government decided to reopen the borders so soon.
It will depend on what side of the divide you find yourself, as an agriculturist, because we have had occasions on the same program that you've been to before where some would say, look, we do not have capacity enough to be significantly self-sufficient. For instance, there was a time after the border was closed, maize farmers, were complaining that they were unable to meet up with the demand. Poultry farmers were also saying that not everything they have is local, so they needed to import some things, that had to do with whatever it was that they were doing. So consequently, government needed to intervene one way or another. So, question that I want to put to you straight up right now is, if the borders were to be closed for a little further, that challenge of capacity for agricultural practitioners is there. Do you think we have been able to scale up significantly enough to be able to feed ourselves and meet our own demands before we even consider, the other value chain of exporting?
Yes, thank you very much. I like the way you put it. Scaling up. My straight answer is a yes. Is a yes. Now, the contribution of agriculture to the GDP in 2019, for example, was about 20%, 22%. This has gone up, increased by 2% to 24%, and we're still counting in this current year. And 87% of that contribution comes from the crop sector, which I was referring to. So we are making gradual, steady progress. I'm not saying that we have the capacity to produce everything that we require in this country. No, we don't have the capacity yet. But how do you get the capacity if you don't create the right environment for the farmers, to produce? If you don't support them, this was a wonderful opportunity for this government to, invest more in irrigation, invest in mechanization services, invest, in value addition, storage, fixing the rural roads, farm roads, and so on, so that there's a holistic approach to addressing an age-long, almost half a century challenge of Nigeria being so rich and yet being so poor, and our people being so poor. So it's got to start somewhere. And this administration took a bold step and took a right decision, by closing the borders. You and I know the inefficiency in the institutions in this country. Even though it's not as if there's still a ban on importation of rice, poultry products, and the rest of them. But you and I know how efficient the institution that is manning the borders are, and other institutions. It's a pity I was not able to hear the customs person speak, I was only able to hear you, the moderators, but we know for a fact that the institutions that have the mandate to control and ensure that things are done properly, they are the ones that lack the capacity. They need to build up their own capacity. On the part of farmers, there's absolutely no input. I would say that there's absolutely no input into agriculture, into any agricultural value chain, any agricultural crop that we cannot produce in this country. And we need to shut our doors and force ourselves. Necessity, they say, is the mother of invention. Now, if we extended this for a bit more, we would have been able to get there. All these other inputs that other practitioners in other sectors, even in the agricultural, the larger sector, require, we would be able to do that. We can
Mr.
produce fertilizers in this country.
Very quickly, to just bring you up to speed. Well, the summary of everything that Mr. Atta said as we spoke with him was that, they have been able to scale up capacity. They have been able to put in place some things to ensure that some of these smuggling activities do not continue. But to take you up on something further on that, on what you have said previously, is the issue of the prices of some of these commodities that we're talking about. The price of rice in the market. The price of some poultry. They have greatly ballooned over time. And a number of people are wondering if the agricultural sector is indeed mopping up profit as a result of the border closure. How come the prices are still so high? And also add to that, in our capacity development, if any, the issue of insecurity all across the nation. So some people are of the opinion that the prices of commodities have risen because we are not able to bring in those that could have buffered, what it is that we produce within the country.
Imports. Now, you see, my reaction to that is the same. It's simple economics. The mere fact that we are not producing enough, that the mere fact that demand still outweighs supply will force prices to go up. It's just simple economics. Now, if you open the borders, and you don't forget that there are a lot of countries, neighboring countries, that depend on Nigeria even to feed their own countries. So, opening up the borders will further impact on the demand side, because they would also, want a share of what Nigeria is producing so that they can feed their own people. So that will further increase the prices because we are still working at shoring up outputs and yields in this country. So, you see, the point here is that the agricultural sector, and indeed the crops subsector, and also, of course, the animal, the livestock subsector and others, have tremendous capacity to improve. And we are seeing positive outcomes from these policies, that have been put in place. Even the CBN's intervention and the Anchor Borrowers program and a host of other interventions, by international donor organizations and the rest. And even what, some state governments are doing. So,
all right, Mr. Nosaya,
we should have these to mature a bit more.
Okay,
so
we hear you.
We can get maximum benefits from.
We need to bring in Mr. Lasisi Fanu now. He's a licensed chairman, Association of Licensed Custom Agents. Hopefully, we'll get you clearer now. Pardon us for that. So go ahead and tell us. Yes, you hopefully, I don't know if you heard how much of what you heard of what Mr. Atta, the PRO for Customs, says, but how is this going to impact your activities?
Yeah, good morning. We are custom clearing agents, and what the gentleman has said so far concerning the opening of the border is going to impede on the improvement or whatever of the local production, I don't see it as a good reason for border not to be opened. Because the border being closed for almost 2 years, a year and a half or thereabout, has impacted a lot of challenges, problems on the border community and to the licensed custom agent working in that area. We are genuine custom brokers. If we have other bound items, if the government doesn't want a particular product, maize, rice, or whatever to come, why do they have the security agencies there? Must they have to close the border before they achieve this? I think the answer should be no. We have second-hand vehicles. They say it shouldn't come to the land border. We have very many other things like that, frozen chicken and so on and so forth, that they shouldn't come through the land border and so on. Do they have to close the border before they achieve that? Why do we have the security agencies? So with this, I don't see any reason why the border should be closed perpetually because we want to improve in our own agricultural product.
And how does this affect your own duties?
You mean closing of the border?
The opening of the border, how does it benefit you or affect you? Okay, I'm not sure that's good. I did ask you, how does opening the borders affect custom agents and their jobs when they carry them out? If this is no, I'm not sure he can hear me. Well, as it is, I think we'll still have Mr. Atta. So, Mr. Atta, let's wind down with this one. We know you had to dash up moving elsewhere. How does this, you're now with the Ministry of Finance, I mean Customs, isn't it? Is it affecting your job at the border?
Sorry, I don't get that.
I think Customs is now under the Ministry of Finance, isn't it? Does it affect anything in terms of how you function on the borders?
Whether our being under the supervision of the Ministry of Finance affects how we function?
Yes.
It doesn't. How? I don't understand the question. I mean, we are under the supervision of the Minister of Finance. In fact, the Minister of Finance is the chairman of the Nigerian Customs Service Board. And the Minister has been providing very, very effective leadership and supervision. So the impact is positive.
Well, they challenge a number of people might
I didn't
want
expect
to raise.
anything different, actually.
Well, of
I just
course.
put it in.
You know, but the challenge a number of people might now raise, Mr. Atta, is sustaining the gains that the border closure may have brought. You said that activities have been scaled up, capacity has been built up. What's the assurance we have that we won't go back here to where we were before the border closure in another year or two? If you can just respond to that very quickly.
Well, we are very hopeful that going forward will be better than before. But it's just like embarking on the journey. And you cannot sit and say you have 100% assurance that one or two things might not happen on the road. I think the most important thing is that what are the safeguard measures that you have in place to deal with them as they may occur? Because, as I said earlier, we are dealing with human beings. It is correct, it is good, it is right that we are talking about customs. But it will be wrong if we forget completely the role of the citizens in this matter. Because it is the citizens whose cooperation can help custom perform better. So it will be everybody's job, with the customs taking the lead as a statutory agency in this kind of situation. But more importantly, how prepared are we as Nigerians to ensure that customs succeed? That's another.
All right, Mr. Atta, you know, when you keep saying we're dealing with human beings, but you're human as well, and humans are equally dealing with you. So it goes both ways. All right, but we need to thank you all. It's just a delight, and no need to respond to that. All right, that's Mr. Joe Atta, who is the Public Relations Officer of Nigeria Customs. We have also had Mr. Ibikunle Onosanya as well as Lasisi Fan. Gentlemen, thank you all for talking to us today.
Well, very quickly, take a few messages that came from you as your contribution to the program this morning. Abdulkader Nasidi talks about the release of the schoolboys. Says, congratulations, Nigeria. The release of the Kankara schoolboys is quite relieving. However, the bad news is that schools have become a market for the terrorists to get government attention.
Well, this is from Altar says, what the comrade, that's the coordinator of the coalition of northern groups, is saying is not new.
Wow.
Come to some of the satellite towns around the FCT and you see Fulani boys moving around with machetes across their shoulders, moving around freely, and everyone knows they are the criminals in those areas.
Oh, my God. Well, this one also from Olashupa Ojo says, every culture is local. Every culture has local security systems unique to it. Security and insecurity starts locally, not federally. The solution for insecurity is within the culture of each locality. Can't they hear or read what we say and write continuously?
Well, there you go. That is it today. We do thank you all for watching. Of course, we'll be back next week, some tomorrow. Thank you. I'm Chamberlain also.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Do have a wonderful day and please keep safe. It's important.